Hi guys, it's Ty Bender at Growing Meadows. It's been a while since I did a video tutorial for you guys, and I've had a bunch of people ask me to do a tutorial to make a shaker dory, which is like, it's going to be a shaker, like a traveler's notebook that you can, carry your notebooks in, and I'll show you all about that in just a moment. So I wanted to come on today and create a video for you guys, and we're going to go ahead and create an insert to go in there also, and have some fun today. So let's go ahead and get started right now. Here's some things that you're going to need to make your shaker dory, if you want to make one in the same way that I'm making one. We're going to be making two things today. One thing is the shaker dory, and one thing is going to be an insert, a notebook insert to put inside the shaker dory. So this is what you're going to need. For the shaker dory itself, I like to use these. They are for the Arc Planner poly zip pockets. This is the half size, and the Arc Planner is Staples brand version of the Happy Planner. So it's a disc bound planner, and you can buy these very inexpensively at Staples, I believe, for under $4, definitely under $5, and there are two of them in a package. So this is actually going to be what we use to make the dory. Then I'm going to use some printed fun duct tape. And this is an elastic, a heavy, thick elastic. I like to use this for the outside. You could use a regular cord elastic like this. We're going to be using this also for on the inside. I'll show you that in a minute. For the insert, I'm also going to be using these stamps from my shop. It's growingmeadows.etsy.com. I have lots and lots of faith-based stamps out there, Christian stamps, and other Christian supplies. You need a big container full of a confetti mix of some kind. Now, this is a bunch of different things I put together, mostly from Hobby Lobby. So it has sequins, it has these little packaging bits that you can find in the party section, and I've just cut it into little chunks. It has big tissue paper, confetti, and then some of the little tissue paper confetti I have here did come from Etsy, a shop called Confetti N Cupcakes, and I'll put a link for you guys for these things. But most of the sequins and the other little bits in here did come from Hobby Lobby, and I've just dumped them all together in a container and made this big, yummy bowl of, it looks like unicorn food, and this is what we're going to use to stuff our shaker dory. I'm also going to be using a water brush today, clear packing tape. For watercolor, I'm using these Neocolor 2 water-soluble wax pastels. Any watercolors would work for this. A standard regular old hole punch, a heat tool, oops, sorry about that, because we're going to be embossing on the cover of our insert for our notebook. I've got some embossing powder. You're going to need an acrylic block for your stamps and things like that. So we'll talk about the supplies as I go ahead and start the video here. And let me move some of this stuff out of the way, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, first we're going to start out by making the insert for our notebook. And I'm going to show you how to do that with an embossing technique, and I'm going to use the embossing as a resist for watercolor so you can kind of see how that works. Again, I'm using this stamp set from my shop, growingmeadows.etsy.com, and we're going to be using this stamp that says Hallelujah and the little bird, singing bird. This is a classic stamp of mine that everybody really loves, and I just love this little bird so much I want to put him on everything. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. I've mounted my stamps, and the stamps do come clear, and usually I use Stays On brand ink. It is a nice black permanent ink, which I really adore, but it does tend to stain the stamps okay. It does not, this staining will not affect the use of the stamp at all. But today I'm going to be using Versamark Watermark stamp pad, and this is because I'm going to do some embossing, so I'll show you guys how this works. I'm just going to use this, and basically this is like a glue. Mine is really dirty because I use it all the time, but they come and they're clear. It's white. The ink that's on there is actually clear, and it's sticky like glue. So I'm just going to tap and load up my stamps here with the clear gluey ink. And I did mount both stamps on the same block. And I'm just going to kind of center it here by eye and give it a good press down. And I'll show you that you do get a sort of watermark impression. And this is perfect for embossing. So you can kind of see there how you've got the impression in a watermark on there. And we're going to go ahead, and I'm also using this black sparkle embossing powder. This is by Ranger. I strongly recommend, if you're going to be doing embossing, to use the Ranger embossing powder. They don't pay me to say so. It's just the best. The other stuff just isn't nearly as good. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this right on, and we're going to cover up the whole design. And then I've got just a regular piece of printer paper under here. Scrap paper would do. Just give it a shake and tap it off. And then you can use a brush or your finger to remove any extra little bits. Or like, I'm not sure, it's see how there's like a little spot there? I'm going to put on some more and see if we can get that to stick. I might have missed a little spot. All right, it might look like, it might just be that I didn't get the ink on there very well. So you want to get off the little black bits, and I apologize, usually I would use like a dry paintbrush to do this, but I didn't grab one before I started filming, so there we go. All right, now don't waste your powder. Before I dumped it onto this paper, I did score the page so it's folded in half here. And you can put it right back into the container. Just like that. And we'll move that out of the way. Okay, and now you've got the powdery, this embossing powder is sort of like a plastic, and when you melt it with the heat tool, it will become embossed, raised up, and you'll be able to feel the design, and it's just really nice and fun. So you need a heat tool. This one I got at Joann's, and I'll put a link for you guys in the description. But yeah, you definitely can't use a hairdryer for embossing. You have to use a heat tool. It gets a lot more hot than a hairdryer. So I'm going to turn it on. It's going to be a little loud here, and I'll try to talk over it a little bit. Basically, you want to keep this thing moving, and it will start to melt the embossing powder, and you'll be able to see it change. I don't know if you can see that on here. And it just kind of melts it all together. You want to keep your heat tool moving because it can burn the page, what you're working on. It is extremely hot, and you definitely want to use caution not to burn yourself as well. So once it is all, you know, you can just, like I said, you can just kind of see it change on there. It melts all together, and then you're done. You don't have to keep going or, you know, go for a certain amount of time to set it. Once it is melted on there, and you can see that it's sort of melted together. I just like this glittery, and this kind of glitter on here, that doesn't bother me. So I want to let it cool just for a second. It doesn't take long, but before I start adding water to it, let it cool off just a bit. You could blow on it, and now see, it's pretty much, it's good to go. It's not going to smear around or anything like that. Now the book did warp just a bit from the heat. That will flatten back out. I'm also going to add some water to it, so that's going to make it a little bit warpy. But after you start using it, or you sit a flat book on top of it for an hour or so, it's going to flatten right back out. The watercolors I'm using today are Neocolor 2 water-soluble wax pastels. I love these paints. They are hands down my favorite paint, but they do get a little pricey. So I understand if you do not have these, or if you have any watercolors that you have would work for this demonstration that I'm going to be using. So I would say if you're interested in these paints, I always recommend that you buy the biggest set you can afford. I have the 40 count that seems to have enough colors for me. If you have a Blick store nearby, you can buy individual colors at the Blick store. And maybe some other local shops near you would carry individual colors. You cannot get these at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Amazon is probably the least expensive place to buy them, and I'll put a link for you guys if you're interested in these paints. So I've just picked out some colors that kind of go with the sparkly mix that the Dori is going to be made from. And I am going to be using a water brush, and this is one where the water is inside of the pen. And you're going to need a paper towel, and I'm going to be pulling the color right off of the crayons with the brush. And I'm just going to kind of go in a rainbowy... Actually, before I get started on that, I think I'm going to go ahead and wet the page just a little bit, because that will help it move around a little bit. So I'm just going to use a big brush and some water and brush over. And you can brush right over this embossing powder. You can paint right over it. It's going to resist the color. So it's going to turn out really lovely. So there, just get some water on there so that the paint can move around. I've got some pink paint then on my water brush. And we're just going to kind of go, this is like a self-cleaning tip, I'm just going to kind of go in a gradient pattern. Just pulling the color right off of the end of the crayon. And we're going to blend them together. And you can make this as dark or as light as you want. You could do the whole entire thing. You know, however you're feeling. Blue. And then my paper is starting to absorb the water that I put down initially, so just a little more water. And this, like I said, the water doesn't really do anything. It just helps the paint move around a little bit easier when you're watercoloring. On to green. And then I wanted to start with the insert because I'm hoping then that it will be totally dry by the time we finish making our shaker dory, and we'll be able to put it in there and you can see how it works. So this is the kind of finished journal here, and I'm going to let it dry. You can see that I was able to go right over the embossing. It's still glittery and beautiful, and I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and we will move on to the shaker dory. Okay, I'm going to get started on the shaker dory part now, and you guys will be able to see this is so easy with these inserts that came for the ARC planner. Again, these are at Staples. The ARC planner is the Staples brand of sort of like the Happy Planner, where it's a disc-bound planner, so you can see that it comes where you can insert it right into your disc-bound planner. But today we're going to be using it for a totally separate purpose. I'm going to be just laying them, let me try to get into frame a little better for you guys. There we go. You want to lay them side by side like this with the ends together. They are not quite touching. You probably could do them touching, but I find that it's a little bit better to leave just a little gap there, and it might be just a little off. But it's gonna work out fine. So I'm gonna be using this pattern duct tape, and we're gonna tape it together on the inside and the outside. That's the first step here. Pretty easy. So I'm just peeling off the tape. This isn't the Duck brand duct tape. I can't actually remember where I got this one. I have so many of these pattern tapes, and they're just so cute, laying, you know, just use them for everything. So I'm just gonna put it right down on there, like so. And then on the other side, flip it over. And you can see I've got it on there a little crooked. It's really not a big deal. So I'll probably pick whichever side is straighter to be the outside and just go with it. It's technically clear, but once you put all of the little sparkly bits in here, you're not going to be able to see that this is kind of imperfect on the inside. So then you just want to trim off the edges, just nice and even with the pockets. Okay. And then you're left with this, and this is going to be what you use for your dory. This is going to be the cover of your traveler's notebook. So I think I'm going to go, this one seems a little bit, you can kind of almost pick which one you want to be the front. And like I said, this imperfection here, you're not going to really be able to see that. So I think this one looks the best. I'm going to make this one the front. And you want to unzip it like so. And then just start loading up the inside with all of your treasures and little sparkly pieces and whatever you have. So like I said, I have this entire box full of glittery bits and tissue paper confetti. Almost all of this stuff came from Hobby Lobby. Little bits of sequins. I did get some of the tissue paper confetti from Confetti in Cupcakes on Etsy. And the bigger pieces are from Hobby Lobby. So just whatever you've got together that you can throw together that's sparkly, and we're going to load it into right into the pocket of the dory. And this is going to get, it could get kind of messy. So if you're not one to have glitter flying around, you might want to protect your area a little better. I personally love glitter on everything, so it can't get too messy for me. And you can load it really full or not as full. You could put in little pieces of ephemera. There's just so many different things you could fill with. So I kind of just give it a shake around and see. I think I'm going to add a little more. These are so fun. And then you can go ahead and zip it closed and move on to the other side. And as of right now, you can see you can still open it up. And I'm going to show you how to close it off so that won't open on its own. But right now I'm going to leave it because I want to make sure that that's definitely how much I want in there. And move on into the other side. And then I need to get it all the way undone. There we go. And the same thing, just load it up with some scoops of whatever sparkly bits you have on hand. And it does take, I think it takes a little more than you think if you want it to be really full, which is what I like. You can see there's just little pieces of glitter in there, and it's so sparkly and fun. So let's take a look and see what we have. Oh yeah, it's kind of fat and cute. Oh, I just love that, the way it looks, and I love that it moves around and it's so sparkly. So I'm going to go ahead and seal these up so that you won't be able to unzip it again. And to do that, I'm going to use clear packing tape. So this is just a Scotch brand that I have on hand that I use for shipping when I ship things from my shop. So whatever clear tape you have on hand, I think it does need to be wide, you know, packing tape like this. And I am just going to tape right over the zipper part on the edge and then fold it over the other side. Sorry, try to stay in frame of you guys. And you will see that this does not hinder the look of your shaker dory at all. It just will help prevent this from unzipping and having all of your glitter fly out everywhere. Trim the tape on the end. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You will never notice this clear tape on here. And I just like using this Scotch brand. I trust it to be a nice strong hold. And it's not yellowy or anything like that. So then I'm just going to trim this end. All right, and we are almost done. So now you've got the cover ready for your dory, and I'll show you how to, this is the side, which side was I going to use for the front? I can't even remember now, they're all so cute. Okay, we'll go with this. Let's go this way. So you can see there, you could put anything you wanted in here. You could put a picture inside of here, it would be really cute with the sparkles behind it. But yeah, just any way you want to do this is totally fine. Now we're going to just use a regular standard old hole punch, and I'm going to put it right in the middle on the crease. And you don't want to go by the middle of your tape if you didn't take the time to measure and make sure, since my tape isn't in the middle, I'm looking at the crease itself because you want it to be in the middle of the crease. And I'm pushing the hole punch in as far as it will go and giving it a punch. You don't have to go in this far, but when you go in as far as it will go on both sides, I know that they're automatically even. And then we are going to fold it in half. And I'm going to give it just a little, which side did I pick for the front? I can't remember, guys. Okay, like right in the middle. I'm kind of lining it up here. I'm not going to go all the way through. I've got it kind of halfway through because you don't want this hole to be too big. Give it a little punch, and now you've got a hole in the center just like that. Okay, so you need 3 holes, or you could do even a few more if you want to put more than one string on the inside. Then I'm going to be using, for the inside cord, this is just an elastic cord that you would buy in the sewing section at your craft store. You can buy these in the kids craft section. Usually they're colorful, but I prefer this that you buy in the sewing section because it is thicker. And usually it will only come in black and white, and that's okay for me. That will work. So you just need a length, a loop that is, you know, about the same height as your journal. As your journal cover, I guess. Give that a snip. In through the bottom hole. In through the top hole. And then to tie this together, I just put the ends together. I'm going to wrap it around my fingers. You want it to be pretty taut, but not so tight that it pulls the book together like this. So make it, at first I just start out and kind of make it loose in case you want to adjust it. And it's pretty easy to take these in and out. So I never like pull it super tight. I'm going to trim off a little bit. And then for the outside loop to keep it held together, I'm going to use that wide, this is from Hobby Lobby. It's a decorative trim, but it's elastic, stretchy. So I like using a big thick band on the outside of my Dori. You could buy that fold over elastic that you might use as a hairband. You know, some people wear them around their wrist. That would work fine. Or even you could just use the cord again and have that around the outside edge. But I kind of wanted a more decorative. I just think this is really cute with all the sparkles. So it might take me a minute to get it pulled through. But basically I cut, and I'm going to tie my knot. I want this to be tight on the front. So I'm going to tie my knot right there in the same type of knot that we tied on the inside, right over top. Oops. Try that again. I haven't used this ruffly stuff before, so my fingers aren't wanting to get a hold of it. So there, you want it to be nice and tight, and then you can go ahead and tie this knot. And then from the inside, we're going to push the middle of the loop toward the outside, right through the middle hole that we made. So I'm just reaching behind and grabbing hold of that with my finger. Go ahead and pull it straight through, and you are totally done with your shaker Dori. And it is so cute and fun. Put it together just like this. And now you can use it just like a Midori or a traveler's notebook to put your journals in, and you have something super unique and fun to carry around. And our journal is almost dry that we did earlier. I could hit this with a heat tool and go ahead and dry it off, but I'm going to just show you guys how to put this inside in case you're unfamiliar with it. You want to open your notebook, and then you could use a Moleskine journal for this or whatever inserts that you have. And, oh, I need to trim that off. Basically, it goes right underneath of the elastic we put inside. And I might have tied mine too tight, so I might have to go and loosen that up just a little bit. Well, that's okay. That'll hold it in there nice and taut like that. Let's go ahead and give this a trim. So if you don't like a giant knot on the inside like this, I would recommend using a smaller elastic. This isn't going to bother me. So this is really just a preference thing. So whichever type of outside loop that you want. And I do have confidence though that since we use such a thick piece of elastic, it's not going to pull back through the hole. So that's it. And now you have your notebook that you can carry around. You could obviously put in more inserts into here. And if you make yourself an extra loop, I'll go ahead and show you how you can insert more than one notebook. So I'm just going to cut a length of this white elastic that we used for the inside. We're going to go ahead and make ourselves just a big loop of it. And this is so easy, guys. You probably already know how to do this. So there's a nice loop. We just made us a circle. I'll pull this book back out. And I'll show you how to insert two notebooks. You want to go ahead right around the middle again. Okay, and then I have some other blank journals here. Open up to the middle. Put it through the same loop. So now I have two that are looped together. You can kind of see there. And you would just put that right under the cord that we started with into the notebook. And you instantly now have two notebooks in your shaker Dori. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave some comments below. And like I said, if you're interested in any of the products, I'm going to put as many links as I can in the description and also on my blog, growingmeadows.com. And again, you can get the stamps in my Etsy store, growingmeadows.etsy.com. So thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you will try this out, and definitely tag me on Instagram at Growing Meadows. If you make one, I'd love to see it. Okay, bye, guys.